watching Clearcut. Welcome back. Some breaking news. Former First Lady Barbara Bush has passed away at the age of 72. She is at 92. She is survived by her husband, who she was married with for 73 years. A very sad situation, but somewhat expected. She had said earlier this week that she would decline further medical aid. Joining us to discuss this is Jeanne Zaino, a professor of political science at Iona College, and Tom Borelli, a contributor at the Conservative Review. Jeanne, your reaction to this breaking news?
As you mentioned, we knew the other day that she was going to try to just rest at home and be with her family. But, you know, it's still stunning because she has been such a part of all of our lives for so many years as the First Lady and then the mother of the President, and somebody so present and did so much good work on behalf of the country. It's a really, I think, sad moment and a passing, you know, the only person besides Abigail Adams to be the wife and the mother of a president.
Tom?
Yeah, very sad news. Prayers and thoughts for the family. Wonderful woman, wonderful mother, wonderful First Lady. She's a real class act, and the country would certainly miss her.
Jeanne, what would you say her legacy would be?
I think, you know, she was so focused on her family, and I think the commencement address she gave, where she talked about the fact that you won't regret not achieving something in your professional career, but you will regret time not spent with your spouse or your kids or your friends. I think for me, that's what she encapsulated, a firm commitment to her family. And we saw that borne out in how successful her family has been and still is, down to her grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Absolutely. Married to the president, mother of a president.
73 years,
73 years, incredible. Yes, absolutely. And that was one of the most solid, if you will, at least from a public perception, presidential marriages and relationships. Wouldn't you say, Tom?
No, absolutely. And it was the First Lady that really didn't involved really in politics, really wasn't politicized. You know, she liked that role. She liked the role of the mother and the grandmother, and it was all grace and class.
Yeah, well, we'll get you more details on what is expected in terms of a funeral as we get them. Let's move on to another big story of today on a less gracious note. James Comey shooting back at President Trump. He's upset about the president's latest tweet saying that Comey should be jailed. Let's take a listen.
That is not normal. That is not okay. First of all, he's just making stuff up, but most importantly, the President of the United States is calling for the imprisonment of a private citizen, as he's done for a whole lot of people who criticize him. That is not acceptable in this country. We wake up in the morning and see the President of the United States is accusing people of crimes without evidence and pronouncing them guilty and saying they should be in jail. That should wake all of us up with a start, but there's been so much of it that we're a little bit numb, and that's dangerous.
And, of course, is coming in response to a tweet by the president where he said the big questions in Comey's badly reviewed book aren't answered, like how come he gave up classified information? Jail. Why did he lie to Congress? Jail. Why did the DNC refuse to give the server to the FBI? Why didn't they just take it? And why the phony memos, McCabe's $700,000 and more? All right, Tom, does the president maybe have a point that a harsher penalty should be coming Comey's way?
Well, I think anyone who really breaks the law needs to be fully investigated, and it doesn't mean if it's me, you, anybody else, and especially those who are supposed to enforce the law. And President Trump is right. Mr. Comey did take documents, government documents, and then give them to a friend, which was then leaked to the New York Times with the purpose of harming the president. So Mr. Comey certainly has had a political agenda. He's really the typical reason what's really wrong with Washington. Entrenched bureaucrats that will do anything to stay in those jobs.
Jeanne, Comey getting grilled from Republicans and Democrats alike. He doesn't seem to be popular on either side of the aisle. Him and Loretta Lynch getting into it. He said that he felt bothered when Loretta Lynch told him to refer to the Clinton investigation as a matter. Loretta Lynch coming out saying otherwise. What is the Democratic view on this book and how things are playing out?
You know, I think Democrats have really mixed feelings, and we've heard this from some Democratic members of Congress already. I myself have very mixed feelings. You know, I am a little put off by the tone of the book and the focus on the president's appearance, for instance, and some of the low kind of discussion, the base
small
discussion.
Small hands
and tans. You know, putting that aside, if you look, James Comey does have an argument, and this is why the president is going out and selling so many books for him with all of these tweets, because James Comey raises questions that Bob Mueller, the special prosecutor, is investigating, in particular when they had the meeting and he talked about the fact that you should go easy on Flynn. That is a big problem for the president. And so, you know, setting aside all of what I think is demeaning on both sides, the back and forth, I do think that there is something there. And I only hope that with the selling of the books, he hasn't made it difficult for himself to be an unimpeachable witness when he's called, and certainly he will be by the special prosecutor, because he has really detailed notes on these interactions.
Notes that he took himself, and some people could question the validity of...
Especially now with the selling of the books, and that's, I think, my concern.
I want to get your thoughts on the Michael Cohen case very quickly. The judge in that case, Judge Wood, denying a request from Cohen to review the documents, saying a third party will look after them instead. Now, this judge, District Judge Kimber Wood, she was one of Bill Clinton's nominees. Didn't get it, but was a nominee. She also presided over George Soros's wedding. So some on the right are calling for her to recluse herself. What do you think, Tom?
Well, again, this whole issue really just what kind of an inbred government structure do we have here? Everybody is connected some way, shape, or form. Whether it's Mueller, whether it's Comey, whether it's Wood, they're all together. And what you really have to look at is the process. What you see with the Mueller investigation is going above and beyond. They invaded Mr. Manafort's home in the middle of the morning. You don't need to do that. Same thing with Cohen. You don't need to do that. They're really trying to shake the system up, and they're really exposing how abusive the system really can be. It should be a really wake-up call to all Americans.
All right. We're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. Tom Borelli, Jeanne Zaino, thank you both. Appreciate it. Coming up on the show, a minute of silence marking Israel's annual Memorial Day. Fallen